The Middle East is once again at the center of global attention. In 2026, tensions between Iran and Israel have escalated into direct military confrontation, marking one of the most serious conflicts between the two nations in modern history. What was once a shadow war fought through cyber attacks, intelligence operations, and regional proxies has now turned into open military strikes, drawing international concern. Historical background. The hostility between Iran and Israel dates back to 1979, when Iran's Islamic Revolution transformed the country's political system. Before the revolution, Iran and Israel maintained relatively normal relations. However, after the revolution, Iran adopted a strong anti-Israel stance. Over the decades, Iran expanded its influence across the Middle East, supporting armed groups such as Hezbollah in Lebanon and Hamas in Gaza, groups that oppose Israel. Israel, in turn, viewed Iran's growing regional power and nuclear ambitions as a direct existential threat. For decades, the conflict remained indirect. Israel reportedly carried out airstrikes on Iranian-linked targets in Syria. Iran supported groups that launched rockets toward Israeli territory. Cyber warfare and covert operations became the main battleground. However, the conflict escalated dramatically in 2026. How the war began. In late February 2026, Israel launched a major series of airstrikes, targeting Iranian military installations and missile infrastructure. Israeli officials stated that the goal was to prevent what they described as an imminent threat from Iran's expanding missile and nuclear capabilities. Shortly afterward, the United States joined the operation, providing intelligence, logistics, and direct military support. This marked the first large-scale, direct military confrontation between the two countries in decades. Iran responded quickly. Ballistic missiles and drones were launched toward Israeli territory and U.S. military bases in the region. Air defense systems were activated across multiple countries as the conflict expanded beyond Iran and Israel. This rapid escalation turned a long-standing proxy conflict into an open war. Regional escalation. The conflict did not remain limited to Iran and Israel. Hezbollah, the Iran-backed group in Lebanon, launched rockets toward northern Israel. In response, Israel carried out strikes inside Lebanese territory. Security alerts were raised in multiple Gulf countries, especially where U.S. troops are stationed. Key international shipping routes, including the Strait of Hormuz, faced heightened risk. The potential for a wider regional war became a serious global concern. Humanitarian impact. War affects civilians first. Reports indicate casualties on both sides, along with significant infrastructure damage. Major cities experienced air raid alarms, blackouts, and emergency evacuations. Schools and businesses closed and hospitals operated under extreme pressure. Humanitarian organizations prepared for potential refugee movements if fighting escalated further. The psychological toll, fear, anxiety, and instability extends far beyond immediate physical damage. Military capabilities and strategy. Understanding the military strength of both nations clarifies why this conflict is so dangerous. Israel operates one of the most advanced militaries in the world, including fighter jets, precision-guided missiles, and sophisticated defense systems like Iron Dome, David's Sling, and Arrow. These systems intercept incoming rockets and missiles to protect civilian areas. Iran, while less advanced in air power, has invested heavily in ballistic missiles and drones. Its long-range missiles can reach Israeli territory, and its drones serve both reconnaissance and attack purposes. Israel's strategy relies on rapid, precise strikes targeting command centers, missile sites, and military leadership. Iran's approach focuses on overwhelming defenses through waves of missiles and drones. Even a few successful hits can have strategic consequences, making the conflict highly dangerous. Cyber and information warfare. Modern warfare is not only fought with missiles and guns. Cyber operations play a major role. Both sides have highly capable cyber units that can target banking systems, communication networks, power grids, and government databases. In addition, information warfare is widespread. Social media platforms are flooded with narratives from both governments to sway public opinion and gain international support. Diplomatic and global response. Despite intense military action, diplomacy continues behind the scenes. Neutral countries act as mediators. Back-channel communication lines are critical in preventing miscalculation and unintended escalation. The United Nations has called for restraint and immediate de-escalation, while major global powers are pushing for negotiations. Countries far from the conflict are also deeply concerned. The Middle East is a major oil-producing region. Disruptions to oil transport routes, especially the Strait of Hormuz, could have serious effects on global energy markets and trade. Economic instability and fluctuating oil prices are immediate concerns for Europe, Asia, and beyond. The nuclear dimension. Iran's nuclear program adds a particularly sensitive layer to the conflict. Israel argues that Iran must not obtain nuclear weapons capability. Iran insists its nuclear program is for peaceful purposes. Damage to nuclear infrastructure or escalation near nuclear facilities could spark global alarm, highlighting the high stakes of this war. Possible outcomes. There are several scenarios for how this war could evolve. Short but intense conflict. Heavy strikes continue for a few weeks, followed by ceasefire and negotiations. Prolonged regional instability. Direct fighting reduces, but proxy attacks and smaller clashes persist for months or years. Wider regional war. More countries become directly involved, increasing casualties and economic impact globally. At present, it is impossible to predict which scenario will unfold. Each day brings new developments, making real-time monitoring critical. Conclusion. The 2026 Iran-Israel war represents a turning point in Middle Eastern geopolitics. It combines traditional military confrontation, missile and drone attacks, cyber warfare, and global economic implications. For civilians in the region, the consequences are immediate and severe. For the world, the ripple effects could impact energy markets, diplomacy, and regional stability for years. History often turns on moments like these. The world is watching as events unfold, hoping that diplomacy, restraint, and reason will prevent this conflict from escalating further. Yet for now, the Iran-Israel war continues, shaping the future of the Middle East in real time.